Well, hello, maybe again. For anybody who was watching before, I don't know what happened except that when I just attempted to do this again, Facebook told me that my video had ended suddenly, which I realized, and that I could resume the video and keep all of the footage and all of the comments and reactions. But then it just spun and spun and spun and wouldn't do anything. So I kept trying to delete it and just start over again, and it wasn't doing that either. And after 3 or 4 tries, I guess it decided it was okay to let me do what I wanted to do. So here I am. So I have no idea exactly how far into the video any of you saw the last time around. Not a clue. I'm very sorry for that because nothing like that has ever happened before. Although it's kind of funny because the video wasn't going well, to be honest with you. I was having a number of little problems, but those kinds of things don't bother me because you learn from them and I learn from them and most people find them amusing. So it doesn't bother me. I did not end the video on purpose, I promise. It was way too much like work to redo it. And I don't think I will be able to redo it in its entirety just because I already made some things, but I can kind of talk you through it. And the good news is that I said I couldn't find my catalog and I found it, so I have that I can show you now. I'd also like someone who's a customer of mine to let me know for sure if they have gotten theirs yet. Because usually the customers who I give catalogs to through the mailing selector do get them even before the catalog goes live and before other people do. So, but I haven't had anybody tell me, hey, I got my catalog, so I was a little worried about it. Okay, so Wednesday night, Facebook Live Part 2. Or maybe I should say, Take 2. I need one of those little things, that goes like that, Take 2. So I'm Roberta Colosino. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. And I'm just going to put the camera down so we can get going. Thank you for your patience. Okay. And now I still need to make some adjustments again because I had to take the camera out because the camera is my phone and I needed to go downstairs and I needed to take the phone with me. Okay, there we go. So this is my host code for the month of September. Hang on, I have to tilt my laptop so that I can see it because the way it's tilted now, I can't see it. There we go. And if you should make a purchase in the month of September, please use this host code unless your order is over $150 before tax and shipping, in which case don't use the host code, because you will get rewards for yourself. Now, I think I also mentioned the first time around that I didn't mention this sooner because people have been talking about this for months and months, and I don't like talking about things before I know that they're really happening or too soon in advance. But Stampin' Up! Has announced that they are going to do away with the current rewards program and change it. So there will be no more host codes, and that is supposed to happen around the first of the year. So what that means, I don't know. We don't have an exact date. There will be no more host codes. There will be rewards, but they will work differently. So with the host code and what's called a workshop order, when you place your order, it tells you right away, based on how much you've spent, how many rewards you have. And it reminds you to spend them. And you spend them on the spot on things that you want. With the new system, it's going to work a little bit more like the bonus thing worked in July and August. So every time you place an order, you will earn rewards. And those rewards will be put towards your next order. So you will get them, you just won't get them immediately. So that's the only difference. And we really just kind of have to see how that goes. Is it going to end up being dollar for dollar the same amount, just delayed until your next order? I can't answer that question just yet, but I think now is probably the time to mention it, because if you've got things that you want to stock up on, this might be a good time to do that while you get the rewards this way, where you get them immediately and you know you're getting 10%. All right? Okay. So the other thing I showed you and talked about before, or showed whoever was here, was my monthly, daily creative prompts calendar. So I wanted to do some clarification because people have asked me about this calendar. So first of all, I do tend to do it like a regular calendar, so the dates are in order. just because it gives you a calendar to look at. But there's nothing that says that you have to do the things in order, because they're just suggestions. They're meant to be creative prompts. I add things like, well, Sunday was Ginger Cat Appreciation Day, and I have a ginger cat, but I had no idea there was such a thing as Ginger Cat Appreciation Day, so I gave him a little extra food and a few extra hugs and a couple of extra treats and told him that it was Ginger Cat Appreciation Day. He was pretty much not too impressed with the whole thing, except for the extra treats. Monday was World Letter Writing Day, so my suggestion that this would be a good day to send a letter to someone in a card. Did you have to do it? Did you have to do it on that day? Of course not. All right, then a reminder that the September to January mini catalog was going live tomorrow, which is now today. And then, of course, I mark when all of my Facebook Lives are happening and when my in-person classes are happening. And this month's Coffee and a Card is full, so thank you very much to all those who signed up for that class. All right, so it's just little suggestions for things that you can do, and sometimes it's just fun things. So Friday, tomorrow's Thursday, is National Read a Book Day, and I asked, what are you reading? So maybe you'll post in the group what you're reading. But what some people have picked up on, but not everybody, is that the days that are highlighted in pink, and they weren't always highlighted, but now I have highlighted them, are days when you can win a prize by doing what they say to do. Doesn't necessarily have to be on those days, but it needs to be between the first and the last day of the month. Okay? And you would need to post it between the first and the last day of the month. So one of them says, use SU products to decorate an area of your house for fall. Share the look in the group and win a prize. So if 5 people do that, then your names will go in. What's been happening is that only one person does it because nobody's noticing these things. I even underlined it at one point, and I started making hints about it. And then I thought, never mind the hints, I'm just going to come right out and tell you. So you can win a prize, and I don't know what that prize would be. It might be some, embellishments. It might be some cardstock, some DSP. It might be kind of a little goodie package with a bunch of different things in it. It all depends on what I've got hanging around. Make an apple or fall harvest themed card, post a picture, win a prize. Where's another one? Make a card using anything you learned from yesterday's video. I'm glad that wasn't the one for today, because good grief, I don't know what you learned from the one earlier. Post a pic to win a prize. Are the leaves turning where you are? Make a card showing fall leaves in all their glorious colors. Post a picture to win a prize. And you would post the picture in this group, in the Facebook group, 11 Lakes Stamper Creatives. Okay, so that's what this is all about. So take a few minutes to take a look at it. All right, so let's see if I can bring all of this out again and kind of start sort of over again. So we started out using the Caring Leaves bundle. Actually, it's not a bundle. I lied. It's just a stamp set. The Caring Leaves stamp set. And the Caring Leaves stamp set is what we call a standalone stamp set. So there is no punch. There are no dies. It's just the stamps. And this one's really very small. It has 6 stamps, and essentially these are almost like just 2 stamps each, because it's a 2-step stamping where first you stamp either the detail part and then the fill-in, or the other way around, whichever works better for you. I've tried it both ways, and I think sometimes it depends on the stamp set. Sometimes it works better than others. That was just me pulling a cat hair out from under the thing there. They're everywhere. Okay, and then there's 2 sentiments, but I like them. Some things never change, and you're simply the best. So that could be an outie and an innie. Okay, that's what we call, it has nothing to do with belly buttons. That's what we call a stamp set that has something that can be used on the outside of the card and on the inside as well. But I also thought how nice it would be to put on here something, some things never change, and then handwrite a sentiment on the inside, like, and our friendship never will, or our friendship never has, or you never have, or, that type of thing. So, and it's I like leaves in general. I just love leaves. But I like leaves for making cards with, because they can be made into a children's card, a man's card, a woman's card, a froofy card, and not froofy card. You can just do a lot with leaves. I'm probably saying that because I'm so fond of them, but that's the way it is. So that's the set that we're using today. And what I had done was I made one card in advance, and that was this card. And I showed that to you. All right, so the dimensions for this card are the typical 8.5 by 5.5. No. Yes, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then I showed you how I made the top part and then made another card. So just really quickly for anyone who maybe didn't see it, it's so hard for me to know exactly when it stopped because it's not even appearing anywhere. So it's not like I can watch the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. It's just, it's not there. So I have this piece of paper which is 3 inches by 3 inches. And all I did, and I will go ahead and do it because I'll probably make another one at some point because I really like this card, is I took my T-square ruler, which is a very nice thing to have. I almost advise if you're going to get one, spend a little more money and get one in metal because metal rulers come in really handy. So what's nice about it is it kind of creates a stopping point so that you know that it's level and it's at the top of your card. So what I did was I measured because 1.5 is half of 3. I just made a little line there, and then I turned it around again, and again I leveled it, and then I found the line, and I drew a line. Oh, wait, it's moving on me. Come on, there we go. So I drew a line, and then while I was here, I marked another 1.5 mark. And then I drew another line in pencil, but I won't even need to erase it. So this is just how I did that. Where's my line there? There we go. So I divided it into 4 even squares. Okay, sorry, just trying to put my ruler away. Divided it into 4 even squares and then used those stamps, doing 2-step stamping to stamp in each corner, and I used crushed curry, Cajun craze, real red, and pumpkin pie. And then I used this sentiment and I made a little ribbon. So when I made the second one, I decided, it started out as a mistake. I had this piece of paper that I thought was a card front, or a typical card base rather, and it was too small, and I said, well, what the heck, I'll trim off a little bit more and we'll make it a 4x4 card. So that's what I did, and I used that sentiment, which I stamped in early espresso, and I really liked it, and then made a double bow using the linen thread. And on the inside, I just stamped 2 leaves, and on this inside, since it was considerably smaller, I just stamped the leaves partially so that you still had some room to write, and I actually put a liner behind the liner, like a backing behind the liner, just for something different, something cute. And I reminded you that envelopes could be made very easily, certainly if you have the envelope punch board, which Stampin' Up! No longer sells, but you can still get them on Amazon. You can get them from We Are Memory Keepers. Definitely watch for sales. I think it's a great tool to have in your stash, even if you're not a huge card maker, just for the idea that you could make a pretty envelope to give somebody some cash in, or write a note in, or something like that. You can use designer series paper. You can even use, I've used the heavier weight wrapping paper. So anything you want you can use to make an envelope with, but I will see if I can find some of the templates that I have for making envelopes if you don't have and don't want to buy the envelope punch board. So then I showed you something which I've done before many times with different stamp sets, and that is my DIY DSP. So on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, I stamped all of the colors, but I also added in wild wheat. And I mentioned that wild wheat I think is a great color, even though I wasn't fond of it at first, and a lot of people don't like it. I call it a chameleon color, because right now on this particular paper, which is the very vanilla, not the basic white, it looks green, which is fine for fall because some leaves stay green longer than others. When you put it in certain settings, it manages to look very gold, and sometimes it even looks like a darkish yellow. So I'm finding myself really liking it. So here was my piece, and I cut from that a piece of I cut a piece of 3 3/4 by 5, and then I mounted that on a piece of 4 by 5 1/4, wild wheat, and then I mounted that on a piece, or on a base of Cajun craze. And if you were still watching when the big mistake was, I somehow managed to flip this over, and I don't know what I did, but I ended up putting, I flipped it over like this, and I ended up putting the inside on the other side of the front. But now you see it's not that way anymore because I took like 3 minutes to fix it. So all I did, and I did have to waste one piece of paper, was I very gently peeled this off using a kind of a spatula thing, and I cleaned it all up, and then I glued it on the inside of a new card base where it belonged. And the other one, I cut off the front of the card, cut away all of this as close to the edge as I could get, and then mounted on a new card front. And no one would ever know that I totally screwed up this card. And that's what it's all about, people. That is what it's all about, that you can fix almost anything. So that, I think, is as far as we had gotten. I was also explaining that when you make something like this, once you make the first one, if you find yourself being really happy with it, go ahead and make another one. Absolutely make another one, because this is like having a piece of designer series paper. And the next time you want to make a card using this set or using these leaves or whatever, you've got what you need already, because not only can I make a card with a typical size front on it, but I could make a card, and I'll show you really quickly how we could do that using kind of like a card sketch. Not kind of like a card sketch, a card sketch. I also stamped a sentiment for this card, and I think I was about to decide what punch or die to use when that's when all hell broke loose and Facebook told me that my video had ended. And I was like, but I didn't end it. Why did it end? So what we could do another time, and I had also said, I feel like I'm repeating myself because I am, although I'm doing better at it the second time around, so I guess practice does make perfect. I made a bunch of card bases using wild wheat. I keep wanting to call it winter wheat. Cajun craze. I made one in, good grief, pumpkin pie, one in real red, and then of course I made this one in Cajun craze. And I kept the other halves of the ones that I didn't use, or some scraps that I had in my scrap bin, ready so that I could make another card. So at this point, I could take, let's just go with Cajun craze for something different. I could take a Cajun craze card base, and instead of putting on a layer like I did here, all right, let me just tuck that under there. What I'm going to do this time is a little bit different. So I'm going to take a little bit of this crumb cake, and I'm going to trim it down. And I'm really just making this up as I go along. I do have a book full of card sketches, but sometimes you don't need them. I'm going to trim it down to 2.5, and let's see what it is now. It's 4, 2.5 by 4. So let's just keep that, okay? And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to trim this down to, let's see, is this 4 or is this less than 4? Yeah, no, this is less than 4. Okay, so 3 3/4 might work. And then what did I say this was? 2.5, right? So instead of 2.5 by 4, we'll go 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. Let's see if I got it right this time. The last time I measured something like this, I didn't do so well. Okay, so that's perfect. So now we've got an element for this card, but we're not done yet. And I'm totally flying by the seat of my pants. I promise you I have no idea what I'm doing. So now I'm going to take a scrap of real red. So first let's go ahead and glue this one on. While I was downstairs eating my dinner, my tuxedo cat, who's the newer of the two cats, was entertaining me by literally chasing a fruit fly around the entire downstairs of the house. Now, I would have thought he was absolutely out of his mind, except that I saw him start chasing the fruit fly on the kitchen counter. So I knew there really was something there, otherwise I would have just thought he needed help. But he continued to chase it, and I couldn't see it. After the first time that I saw it on the counter, I certainly couldn't see it, but he saw it. All right, so now I'm going to cut this one down and maybe go in another direction. I'm going to cut this one down to, I'm going to go 2.5 again. And I'm totally experimenting, so this may not work out. And instead of 2.5 by 4, I'm going to shorten it up a little bit. Actually, I think I'm going to go 2.5 by 3.5. And let's see if I like that. 2.5 by 3.5. And then this one could be, if I use that end, I'm going to get lots of red. I don't want that much red altogether. So what I did with the other one was once I cut it, I realized I was missing, there was like not enough stuff in one spot, I think here, over here. So I did 2 more, just partial ones in get my Cajun Craze and my crushed curry all mixed up. Okay, so where was I? 2.5 by 3.5, is that what I said? 2.5 by 3.5. So this one would be 2.25 by 3.25, right? You hear the confidence in my voice? Let's see, that doesn't look right at all. Nope, it isn't. Okay, so that is 2.5 though, right? 2.5. Oh no, it's not, it's 2.25. Okay. So then this has to be 2. Okay. So again, this gives me a little something that I might be able to use on the inside like I did with the other one. So let's see what this looks like. So yeah, that was right. And I do feel like it needs a little something else in there, but I can't put another leaf in there. And I've already got some of that stuff in there, so I don't know if I really want to mess with that or not. I might just leave it the way it is. I probably should have put a little something there because all we're seeing is a little piece of orange stem. So even though we made the DIY DSP as an 8.5 by 11, once you cut it up, you may see that there's a need to add some other things to it. And then you just go ahead and do that, preferably before you stick it on something. Okay, so now I'm thinking something like this. So there's going to be some overlapping, which is fine, and that'll cover up the extra red and kind of cut into this empty space here. So that's what I'm kind of thinking of now. Is this background going to be too whatever, or could I put a sentiment that would fit in here nicely? The other thing I've learned over the years is there's nothing wrong with, especially something like Happy Birthday, having it going in the opposite direction. Or we could just say that the card is going to go this way and then it'll be in the right direction. But in all honesty, I like it better in this orientation. So we'll kind of see what I decide to do. So I'm going to glue this one down because this one's going to be on the bottom and I want it flat. And then I'll pop the other one up. My throat has also cleared up a bit because I ate and I drank. Water. We're still talking about water. Feel a need to say that. I'm really not much of a drinker. The potential's there, but I'm not living up to it. Okay. And then I'll get out my dimensionals. And we'll put dimensionals on the back of this one. Oh, I've got some good little things here that I can use with my Teflon scissors. Just to cut. Oh, some of them are already cut. Never throw these away. That would just be a crime, okay? Don't throw them away, not ever. Because they are dimensionals. They're just a different shape. They work perfectly well. All right, and they're really good for putting up against edges like this. Today, somewhere, I saw my Take Your Pick tool. Last week, I wasn't able to find it. I saw it someplace today, but I still don't really know where it is. I just know that I ran across it probably while I was looking for something else. That is the story of my life, just so you know. Finding things. The glue sticks that I was looking for a week or so ago, I was telling my team members I couldn't find them. I found those in a totally strange place while I was looking for something else. Didn't find what I was looking for, but I found the glue sticks. So when I go looking for something else, I'm sure I'll find the Take Your Pick tool then. Does anybody else have that problem, or is it really just me? I'd like to think that other people have it and that it's not just me. So I want to keep the borders kind of consistent if I can. So the border between this and the side and this and the top, I'll keep that at like about, what is that, 1/4 of an inch maybe? Okay. So I'm using Very Vanilla. So I need to stick with Very Vanilla. So I had said that, you know, as much as I do like the sentiments in this stamp set, you know, they're kind of limited. There's only 2 of them. So I got out So Sincere, and I thought for this one, what could I find? So look at this. Happy Birthday going that direction. I forgot. I knew there was a set that had that, but I thought it was a retired set. Look at that, and it's just the right size. So bingo. There we have it. And I did that a long time ago, but I did it even if it was, you know, crooked. I just didn't care. It didn't matter to me. Where's my longer stamp? My longer block. I know. I'm hanging upside down, backwards, whatever. One of these days, you're going to hear a crash as I fall on my head, or you're going to hear a scream as I tear 6 muscles in my back, but yet I won't stop doing that. I think it's exercise, you know, hanging backwards, like twisting and whatever else, and then getting up without using my hands, just using my core muscles. I think that's great. And you think I'm crazy, but that's all right. All right, let's find the early espresso. I also mentioned earlier that I was having trouble with some of my ink pads, and some of it might be because of age, and while you may think they're meant to last forever because we sell re-inkers, they're not necessarily meant to last forever. All right, I'm sort of remembering something about this stamp. Let's see if what I'm remembering is correct. Well, I did some stamp surgery on it, but that still showed up, and I don't like that. And I remembered that the H, for whatever reason, and you know, these stamps, they're not handmade, they're machine made, but it's possible that, you know, there are little defects that happen on occasion. When I say stamp surgery, what I'm talking about is taking a pair of scissors and cutting away some of the excess rubber from around the stamp so that you don't get that thing that happens with the mark. Now I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to use the same exact spot to stamp on so that I don't waste the paper. So I'm going to try to ink it up a little bit more lightly. I'm going to make sure that I don't press. I'm just holding it there. And that looked, well, it looks better, but look, the A didn't come out because I was being like too gentle. So, you know, this happens. Some stamps just stamp beautifully the first time around, and other stamps you got to fidget a little bit. No, I don't like the way that looks either. The H is gloppy again. Okay. And this is also a juicy ink pad. So now we do have to move to a new spot. I'm not going to press, but I'm going to make sure I'm pressing evenly. Oh my goodness, not my day for this. Okay, so this is wasting paper, right? This bothers me, but it can't be helped. All right, how do we feel about 3rd time's the charm? Okay, 3rd time was the charm. And I did remember that that was not one of my favorite stamps, that I had to be really careful with it, and sometimes that happens. And I don't even know if I can say that there's anything wrong with the stamp, but it does look to me like the H is just a little chunkier than some of the other letters for whatever reason. Okay, so now let's see, I want to cut that and make sure I don't cut that short in any way, so I'm going to cut that now. And then it's the one in the middle, so hang on, I'm going to cut this too to make sure that I can preserve this piece as a good scrap. And now I'll worry about this one in the middle that came out okay. And it's still not perfect, is it? I see a little extra ink on the H there. Yeah, so I can't use that at all. still use. Our ink, while it's definitely opaque, does not show through paper, so that's really nice. So you can definitely use the other side of something, even something dark, and not have it show through. So I'm going to have to trim that down a little, and I'm kind of wishing that I could put a backing on it of another color, but I think it may be too long for me to get away with that. So we'll see. No, I could get away with it, so, but maybe it's best to just leave that alone. Maybe it's too much to put another color under it. Alright, and since this is down and this is up, I think I'll glue this down too. Again, that's just my own personal preference. You absolutely could do it whatever way you want to do it. And that worked out without me doing any planning at all about what sentiment, not even remembering that that long sentiment was in there. That worked out very nicely for making up a card sketch, basically just by in my head. Although I'm sure this is a card sketch somewhere, and I'm sure I've seen it somewhere or have it in my book of card sketches somewhere. Okay, so there we go. So this way, I sort of probably used the equivalent of a whole piece of that paper, but it just gave me a different look. So I'm not making the same card over and over again. This has a very different look. And then I would need a liner, and I have those here somewhere. And I mentioned before in the previous video that I keep a bunch of these in a stamp case, and that you can buy these stamp cases in sets of 4 from my online store. So now I'm looking for the annual catalog. Of course, I found the new catalog, and I don't see the annual catalog anywhere. I might have taken that downstairs because I was looking for something. Oh, I tell you. All right, so wait. Before I glue that down, do I want to stamp anything on that? Do I want to, can I use, these pieces are a little too small unless I do something kind of different and interesting with them. I'm not turned on by that. So how about, here we go. I was stalling, could you tell? How about I find the stamp set and we'll do some stamping. So I've got the front side, which is not the front side, but the fill-in side, which I've decided, at least in this stamp set, I like to do that one first. I don't know why, it's just working for me. So I'm going to get some crushed curry. And this is a bigger piece, so I will probably stamp like almost the whole thing or the whole thing on there. Okay, and then I'm going to, whoops, clean that off. Nope, there goes the voice again. I don't know. I have the windows open now because it was so hot in there before. And now I'm, breathing in whatever's going on in the air. I haven't heard. I don't know if anybody else has. It doesn't seem like the Canadian wildfires are affecting us the way they did last year. I'm not smelling any smoke or hearing any bad, air quality reports. Has anybody else heard anything? Because I haven't yet. But my allergies do seem to be bothering me quite a bit. So there we go, is that. And then I'm going to clean that because I'm going to switch to the other stamp, which I said looked to me kind of like a oak leaf, and this other one sort of reminds me of a birch leaf, but somebody out there might know more than I do about what's what there. I certainly know they're not maple leaves. It's just I'm not sure if that one's a birch leaf or not, because I think birch leaves are fatter. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. And then we'll do a little bit of this one in real red. And also put most of that on. I'm going to overlap it just the tiniest bit. So in our earlier video, I also talked about how the photopolymer stamps do stain. It's really not a problem, but it's best if you can, if you clean them off like immediately instead of just putting them in a bin and saying you'll get to them later, because I think then the ink soaks in and stains them even more. I also noticed that that stamp, the first one, didn't come out super well, and I don't know why I didn't notice it at first, but I didn't. So I'm going to try to redo it. That's not always a good idea. I'm just going to tell you right now. Even though with these you should be able to see through, I can't always. So I'm just going to try it, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, oh well. Okay, not bad at all. That's good. I can deal with that. So there we have our inside of the card, and now it's safe to glue that in, because you really don't want to glue until you know you're done stamping. It's possible to stamp when something's glued down, but sometimes they're just the littlest bump. If there was a glob of glue that came out, you might not notice that until you try to stamp on it. So it's best to always stamp first, glue later. And then I also mentioned that it's not a bad idea to flip it over to press it down, because earlier my fingers had a little moisture on them from the Stampin' Chamois, and I smeared my ink. Okay, so there's another one. All right, and this one, well, like I said, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a very vanilla circle with a darker color circle. Gee, there's just cat hair everywhere, isn't there? With a darker circle on the outside. I haven't quite decided. So I won't continue with this, but you see where I'm going with this. So I still have this left, and I have all those card bases and scraps left, and I could certainly make, I would say, at least 3 more cards out of what's here. Maybe even more if I wanted to do something different and not put maybe not put the pattern paper or the stamped paper on every section. Maybe just have one section stamped with just some slivers of cardstock sticking in around it. Or maybe just one section of this with some, and I did do them, where are they? I don't know if this is the bin I started out with or not. I fussy cut some, I think just 3 or 4. And I thought at some point those would be nice to stick in behind something, but they seem to have disappeared, so I'm not going to knock myself out looking for them. So definitely you could get more cards out of this. So we've actually already got, we'll count that as done, we've got 4 cards so far. And then since I did promise you a little Christmas, we will do this as well. Now last week, I'm pretty sure it was last week, I actually did something with this stamp set as well. And I used the Designer Series paper that had old olive and gold in it. So today I grabbed a piece, and we're going to do something quite a bit different. I grabbed one of these pieces that comes like this, so that it can be split down the middle at 6 inches and can possibly be used for like 6 card bases. So that's what I did. So I split it in half down the middle, and I pulled out, I'm not using the embossing folder, but the suite comes with an embossing folder. I think last week I used the embossing folder. You know, last week was such a long time ago. How can I be expected to remember what I did, right? Pretty Peacock, because that's the color in the DSP that I picked, is Pretty Peacock. So I got a Pretty Peacock card base. I got the Pretty Peacock and gold piece of paper. And I had a lot of thought processes about this whole thing. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to. I stamped and die cut 3 single trees, 2 shorter ones and a tall one, and then this grouping of 4 trees, which I think I used last week. And then, which I did not get into last week at all, I got into the Peaceful Seasons stamp set. So we're using the Peaceful Evergreens stamp set and dies for the trees. And the dies come with all these dies that cut out everything I have here. I did not do the biggest tree. They do the bow, which I did last week. Where are those little bows? Well, they're here somewhere. really cute bows. In fact, I'm just going to make a slew of them so that I have them on hand. So these dies, this one, and these two make the bow. And then there's the Christmas one, which does not have a stamp, and that's this one. So it cuts out Christmas, but it also has a separate die that cuts out like a shadow or a background if you want to. You don't have to use it, but that's what it would look like if you did. Okay? So my thought process was that I cut the paper going in this direction so that I could get more out of it. If I had wanted to make my card go in this direction, then I might have had to cut this wider. And I didn't want to because I didn't want to waste it. So then I started thinking about this, and I thought, you know what? You know what this is? This is gold snow. Now, I realize there is no gold snow. Okay, I realize that. But I looked at it, and if you look closely, over on the sides and in between, there's little tiny speckles of gold that really almost look like snowflakes. So I thought, okay, this is like an evening scene, and this is gold snow coming down. Or maybe it's not falling down, maybe it's in the background. Then I was like, okay, do I want to put this on a background of some other color? But I didn't want to cover up too much of the gold snow. I also thought I could make the card going this way, and maybe this is just like piles of snow, because what I wanted to do was have the tall tree and then have one of the shorter trees next to it. And you can already see that this wasn't going to be big enough if I did it portrait style. And then have these in the background. And maybe I don't need to even worry about what I'm calling this gold stuff other than pretty. Okay, so maybe I just don't need to worry about what I'm calling it. So that was my thought. And then I thought I would put this on top of it. I wasn't sure if I liked the black, though, with the pretty peacock. I really wasn't sure if I cared for that. But I did it, because once you're at the die cut machine, it makes sense to just die cut. I don't mind the red at all with the pretty peacock, but I didn't like the black. I don't know if you'll agree or not. Maybe I just should have done white. I'm not sure. Does it need a background? Can you still read it? Do you still know that it says Christmas, even though it's got this kind of busy stuff going on behind it? I don't know, but that's what I decided to do, so that's what I did. So I'm thinking that I'm going to glue down the big tree in the middle and then pop up the two ones on the side. There was also an issue here where this didn't stamp very well, and so I thought it would be good to cover some of that up. So I'm going to glue this down. I just want to make sure that I'm leaving enough room for popping that up next to it. And I think I am, but I'm going to leave it there until I'm ready to glue this down and then just sort of slip it underneath. So this is the suite, and I think I told you last week this is kind of what we call a mega suite, because it's a suite consisting of 2 bundles, and it has paper, and it had ribbon, and it had 2 sets of dies, 2 sets of stamps. It has embellishments as well, gold embellishments, and it has the embossing folder. It's really kind of a big bang for your buck, although it's a big buck. It's not cheap. All right, so I always feel like I have to be very honest about that. Some of these suites are not cheap, but I fell in love with this one. I don't often buy the whole suite. I fell in love with it, and I also volunteered to do a demonstration. Not a demonstration, what do we call it? A display table, displaying products made with this suite. So I've been kind of working on that too. So everything that I make using that, I can now put in my demonstration. So that might be why you're seeing a bit of this, kind of one after the other. All right, so now these are going to go on top. I might as well get them both set up the dimensionals here. Really wishing that I had my Take a Pick tool that I know is somewhere, but I just don't know where. I have nails this week. I've been trying to let them grow. I'm not trying to let them grow. I've never tried to stop them. I've been trying to get them to grow. I'm using some different stuff on them, and the other day one of them just like ripped off like at the quick and was actually bleeding. It ripped off so short. So that was kind of a non-successful moment. All right, so we'll put that one there, and this one here. And I had thought about maybe doing one of the trees in a different shade of green, but the only shade of green that I liked the way it looked with Pretty Peacock was shaded spruce, and I didn't like it enough to do it, so I didn't. And then I thought maybe using the sponge daubers to make, what am I trying to say, to make it kind of a multicolor or a slightly different color. I thought that would be a good idea, but I didn't do that either. But I'll throw those ideas out, so as you're watching me do this, you can think, well, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. You probably should have done that. Why didn't you? All right, putting that across that way, and then maybe I should have a couple of minis on the top. I'm not really dimensional happy. It's just that you are sliding these into an envelope, so you don't want to have too many things sticking up where they might get caught. It's going to happen anyway. You know, if people are, you're going to be careful putting it in the envelope. The problem is everybody going to be careful taking it out of the envelope, because not everybody understands. Okay, I need help here. I'll use my tweezers, which are not as good as the Take Your Pick tool, because they don't pull off multiple backings at the same time like the Take Your Pick tool does. And sometimes they can be a little more tedious than the Take Your Pick tool. Like right now. Yep. Okay, I think now that I got that one off, I can get the other ones off. And then I wanted to get a couple more mini dimensionals. And I think, yep, I accidentally pulled the backing off of one of them. So we'll get that on there. The tweezers work pretty well for placing the dimensionals, I will say that. They just don't work so well for getting the backings off. Jeez. Okay. This is still going better than the first video. So for those of you who didn't get to see any of that, you won't know what I'm talking about. But it's definitely going better than the first video. Alright, so we're going to put that on here. And of course I did just realize that I hadn't glued this down yet. Not a big deal, but I probably should get it stabilized. And then this is the other side of that. So all the sheets have foil on one side and these kind of watercolory texture-y things on the back. I do like to get a little extra in the corners, but not so much that it'll ooze out. Make sure the card's going the right way, but a little extra. Just because I don't like it when corners come up. It's kind of sloppy looking. Okay, I'm very sure I don't like the black. I'd be curious to hear what somebody else has to say, but I'm not liking it. I'm thinking maybe white would have been better, but I think I'm okay with this as long as I can. Yeah, so again, I probably should have put the adhesive sheets on the back, and how many times have you heard me say that? I'm going to need to put a dimensional there, and I'm going to have to cut just the teeniest, tiniest piece of a dimensional. Hanging upside down again. Okay. I had to get my little Teflon shears out because I need something super skinny. I might need those tweezers again too. Oh, right, gotta get the backing off of it. Okay. So my goal is to get a skinny piece of dimensional somewhere on this C. And I'm going to have to cut off the tiniest piece of that so it doesn't show. Okay. And then I can use glue for the rest, I think. But just that piece that's going to be hanging down in that little low section there. And now while I was talking, my glue got clogged, but that's life. That happens. Glue clogs. I don't know if there's any totally avoiding that. I'm just not sure. Let's see if I unclogged it enough. Nope. So, I get my trusty pin out. So sometimes with these fine tip glue bottles, if you're not careful and you push too hard, the actual tip of the glue bottle disappears into the bottle, which is really annoying, especially if you've recently refilled the bottle. Because then you have to dump it all out into something. You don't want to throw it out, but you've got to pour it into something else. And then you've got to fish the top out of it. That's a major pain, so I try to avoid, oops, a little bit too much. Better off with dots than with straight lines. And I know that, but I just started making the straight lines instead. Definitely better off with little dots. And it's plenty of glue, believe me. The glue is very strong. Okay. And the tweezers, again, will probably come in handy, except I'm not sure what... There we go. All right, I was going to say I'm not sure what direction I'm in. So now I've got the C there. I want to be careful not to stretch this, because if I pull on it with the tweezers, I could stretch it. So now, I'm thinking that I probably should have dimensionals under this too, but I just feel like that's going to be just too much. And I'm wondering how bad it's going to look if I just stick it down. Oh dear. I wish I could say that I'm okay with it, but I'm not. So I'm going to at least get one more skinny dimensional and see if I can get that on there. Talk about your fine motor coordination. For all my teacher friends, this is really something here. All right, I can't see that, so I think I'm going to try for one more, maybe on the M. Okay, so admittedly, this is fussy. This is fidgety. And you might not want to do this. Gluing it would be fine. Using the adhesive sheets would have been a really clever idea on my part. And it would have made it much easier for you and for me if you were doing it, much easier for you. Using a sponge dauber or a piece of sponge with glue on the back is another great way to achieve this without being quite this fidgety fussy. There we go. Okay. So that I'm liking. And I'm not going to bother with the inside. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do, and it's probably just going to be to use this as a side piece and just glue this in. All right? So, because I feel like I've taken up enough of your time, and I've been at this for like hours now, if you count the first video. All right, let's push everything out of the way a little bit, and let's take a look at what we did tonight. So we have the 2 cards made with the DIY DSP. I'll just say that's going to be there for now. And then we have the 2 cards made using the same basic layout with the 4 divided, I don't know what you call this, like a window. It looks kind of like a window, doesn't it? We've got those made very similarly, but with slightly different colors and different sizes. And then we've got the Christmas card. So definitely more fall than Christmas. I know, I think I said this morning, a little bit of Christmas and a little bit of fall, but it's definitely more like a lot of fall and a little bit of Christmas. And I realize that as much as I don't like to start making Christmas things too early in my videos because I'm not ready for Christmas yet, I really have to, because if you people want to order these things and you people want to make your Christmas cards, like not the week before Christmas, then you need to be ordering these things now. So speaking of that, here is, let me get these out of the way. Here is, drum roll, the new September to December, and it really is January, because if you look on the back, I'm going to have to, it says that this catalog is good until January 6th. So it is December to January. I don't care what it says on the cover. The mini September to December 2024. This little thing I have not ordered yet, but it's calling my name. That's in here. And the other thing that I tried to post yesterday and it wasn't posting correctly, so I'm going to try it again, but probably not tonight because I'm tired. Because Stampin' Up! Has, I'm trying to, absorbed in a way some of, oh my gosh, some of Close to My Hearts. They've absorbed, first of all, any of the Close to My Heart makers, that's what they were called, they weren't called demonstrators, who wanted to become Stampin' Up! Demonstrators were welcomed with open arms, and many of them have. And because Stampin' Up! Used to do scrapbooking but stopped doing it, probably to some degree because Close to My Heart had the market on scrapbooking and they did it very well. So Stampin' Up! Just kind of said, you know what, we'll do our thing, they can do their thing. When Stampin' Up! Announced, or when Close to My Heart announced that it was closing its doors, Stampin' Up! Bought up a lot of their merchandise. And then I don't know whether they bought the rights to or if they just completely went ahead and did their own thing. Well, I know they went ahead and did their own thing. They bought up a lot of their stuff, which at first only the former Close to My Heart makers were allowed to buy, and now it's open for us to buy, but it'll sell out soon. They only had so much. They bought what they had, and most of it's probably gone. But now they're introducing, very quickly, they put together a scrapbooking line that will coordinate with things in this catalog. We used to call this the holiday catalog. Now we call it by the months and call it a mini catalog. And there's going to be a brochure, but it's not going to be a brochure like the celebration brochure that, you know, I can have mailed to you or give to you. It's going to be only online, and you have the ability to print it out if you want to. It's not a zillion pages, so you could print it out. It would probably use quite a bit of ink. I don't think you'd want to print it out in black and white, but maybe, because you could see it in color online. You know, anyway, what you do with that is up to you. I'm not going to be printing them out for everybody because then I would have to charge you for them. So that would be kind of silly when you can probably do it yourself. And I should probably point out that if you can download it onto a flash drive and take it to someplace like Staples or Office Depot or Office Max or any of those places, they might be able to print it for you less expensively than it would cost you to print it and possibly use up a cartridge and have to replace a cartridge, because they've gotten crazy expensive these days. So I will try to get that posted tomorrow. So we're putting an emphasis now on scrapbooking again, which is something we used to do. And we had a partnership with Project Life, but that ended at one point. So we've got some great paper here that's in the catalog here. And we've got 2 new kits that have come out this month as well, so they became available the same day today, and the kits are Christmas-based kits. Blah, blah, blah. Now, with regard to Paper Pumpkin, unless something's changed, and I don't think it has, typically November and December are Christmas months for Paper Pumpkin. And September and October tend to be more fall Halloween, especially October tends to be more Halloween. These kits, though, are kind of giving you an early start on that if you don't want to wait for Paper Pumpkin. And these kits are not a subscription. You can just buy them outright, whereas Paper Pumpkin you have to subscribe to, although you can subscribe and cancel any time, so it could be a one-time deal for you as well. So then they're just showing, you know, some little things here, ways that you could use the kits. And the other thing that's new here, that's being introduced again, I think some of it was in the annual catalog, is the whole concept of, and I did show you the envelopes and cards last week, these ephemera packs is what they're calling them. So they're not, I think some of them may be stickers, but some are not stickers. They're just that you punch them out, and then you can use dimensionals to pop them up. And you can basically use all the things on this page here, which is page 15 of the new catalog, to create your own Christmas cards without as much fuss and muss. In fact, you could avoid stamping altogether if you really wanted to avoid stamping, because there are some sentiments here. They might not all be the ones that you would want, though. So I still think you need yourself a good holiday stamps or sentiment set like this Peaceful Season, even if you bought just this and didn't buy the whole bundle or the whole suite. This would give you a lot of wonderful stamps to use for Christmas. Okay. So, and this page here actually has some card sketches that they're giving you to copy, showing you how to make different things, including gift tags and whatnot, using the things on the previous page. So we've got gift tags, and we've got cards, and we've got just like little, well, that's a tag too. Here's a tag that kind of coordinates with the, what's it called? Well, we'll get to it in a minute. No, we won't, because I think it's an online exclusive. I showed it to you last week with the ice skates, the set with the ice skates. There's some great paper, and then there's the memory and more cards. Memory and more cards are also great for someone who would love to sit down and make like 20 Christmas, or 20 Christmas cards or any kind of cards in a day without any fuss or muss. So they've got these cards which are designed to fit in the Project Life pocket scrapbooking albums, and they still will. So the cards come in the sizes of 4x6 or 4x3, which is the size that fits in all of those. And there are different brands that you can buy. It doesn't matter. American Greetings makes them. Different companies make them. And you can slide these in to be sort of like your decoration. And then in the next one over, I'm going to have to get mine out and show it to you. And the next one over, you can put pictures. So you can have one of these just to kind of be an introduction to, hey, this is Christmas. You can use those, and the Memories and More card packs also come with stickers, and these are stickers that you can use. So again, especially a great thing to do with kids who want to create, but you do not want to be giving little ones bunches of ink and stuff because it's going to get messy, really messy. All right, and then this is the Season of Elegance Suite, and this is the one that I bought. So let me see. I'm looking for where the price is for the whole suite. I don't want to scare you, but you might as well know what it is. So let me just keep flipping until I find it. So again, when I talk about casing the catalog, that's what this is all about. Here are some wonderful samples of cards, none of which I used, at least not yet, but I'm sure that I will, because there's not a thing wrong with them. They're very, very nice. All right, and so here's the two stamp sets. You've seen them both, the Peaceful Season and the Peaceful Evergreens, and the two coordinating die sets. But it also comes with these, what are they called? Number 5, painted trees, no. Number 5, Roberta, gold texture adhesive back dots, and then the painted trees 3D embossing folder. And then all of the designer series paper that actually comes with this suite is the specialty paper. Sometimes you have a choice between a regular paper and the specialty. This is all specialty paper, which, like I said, is gold on one side and just kind of a watercolory whatever on the other side. And the, oh, good grief, cherry cobbler satin ribbon with gold trim around the edges. So the entire suite is $154.75, and I think that's the most expensive suite I've ever seen. I don't know, I have 170 in my head. There might have been one that was 170. And like I said, I normally don't buy a whole suite, especially not a mega suite, but I just loved everything I saw. I thought, first of all, trees are not just about Christmas. So trees can be used year-round. You have people who are into hunting and whatnot, and then you've still got the Trucking Along Punch bundle that is still, I believe, an online exclusive. So you could have the pickup truck with the trees, the forest in the background. These labels, except for the word Christmas, obviously, these labels can be used anytime. This one is amazing. You can actually put ribbon through these little holes in this label. Again, the embossing folder. None of this stuff screams Christmas except this particular set right here. So I got it all. Reindeer Days I did not get, but the more I'm looking at it, the more adorable it looks. The designer series paper is adorable. The dies, that cut out the deer are adorable. The dies also cut out this really, really pretty kind of a background window with the pine boughs showing through it. I like that, like more than half of the other stuff here. I just love it. So who knows what the future will bring, whether I'll buy that or not. Sentimental Wishes has just darling designer series paper in kind of vintagey colors. I mean, they're our colors that we have, but the way they're used in combination, it looks like something out of the 40s and 50s to me. It reminds me of things I saw, wrapping paper that I saw when I was a kid. Nests of Winter is a bird set, and I really like birds, but I have a lot of birds, so I decided not to get it. My customers don't seem to like birds, so I just decided not to get it, but it's really pretty. It also has an embossing folder, and this is just a bundle. Oh no, I lied. It's a suite collection, but this suite collection is under $100. It's only $97 and change, and it comes with DSP. It comes with one stamp set. It comes with one set of dies, one embossing folder, some embellishments, and some of the, are they calling that twine? What are they calling it? No, they're calling it linen thread, but I think it's just a tiny bit heavier than our other linen thread. Then there's Snowy Wonder, which has adorable, this would be great for kids cards, I think. And you've got penguins, and then you've got kind of like what we had years ago, but without the 3D effect. You've got the ability to put together a snow globe and stamp a scene and put it inside. So I think I mentioned last week, Stampin' Up! Retired their vellum, but vellum is just so important. I know everybody's trying to talk them into getting it back. I would absolutely make the snow globe using some vellum. And there's this one. So this is called that's not called a snow globe. There's another name for it, a cloche or something like that. And then this is the snow globe. And then it even has these little tiny white, what are they calling them? White loose snowflakes. I don't want to go through the whole catalog. But then this one, Regal Winter it's called, is just totally different. It has all of the Stampin' Up! Regal colors. Beautiful, beautiful floral paper. Floral stamp set. Looks like it might have kind of a watercolor look to it. It has dies and it has this extra specialty paper. It has some ribbon, but I don't see the word Christmas anywhere here. Okay, it has absolutely nothing to do with Christmas. It's just winter. And then we get on to the fall things. And again, I did not get this either, but I'm kind of loving some of these things. They have this thing, which is a die that makes the strips to make a bow. I got to be honest with you, to me, it's almost too much like work to have to cut out all of these strips and then bend them over and then fold them. And, you know, you can buy bows at the dollar store. I know I should not be saying that, right? No salesperson should be saying that, but it just seems like, to me, too much like work. Sorry, Stampin' Up! What can I tell you? Christmas labels, I absolutely got this one because I love the labels and they can be used year-round. These are not all Christmas necessarily, okay? Winter, warm and cozy, believe, which could be about any time, love and joy, winter wishes, and then there's like a to you tag. But these dies, I think, are just going to be wonderful. Excuse me if you're hearing me yawning. I did get this stamp set, Light the Year. I did not get, there was some DSP that had lamps in it. I think maybe it was one we went over a couple of minutes ago. I did get that, and I will be using vellum in these because I just think if you have lanterns, you have to be able to see the flame through the lanterns, you know, through the glass, and that's just me. That's, you know, whatever. Decorative trees looks like a lot of fun, but I didn't go for that. It's got stamps that punch out all different kinds of trees with different decorations on them, different styles, so very versatile. Not a realistic looking tree necessarily, but, you know, kind of fun and frivolous. And then Christmas Friends bundle has all of your furry friends. You've got a mouse and an owl and a bear and a moose, and I do think those are really cute, but I didn't get it. You've got another one here similar to something we had last year that will make a bunch of different kind of ornaments, and I think that's really pretty, but I didn't get it. I did get the one of a kind because I'm a sucker for snowflakes. And it's got dies, and actually it only has 2 dies that come with it, and that's one that cuts out this snowflake, and then one that, no, I'm saying that wrong. One that, yes, I think it does. It cuts out that snowflake, and then this die just cuts out a snowflake that there's no stamp for. It just makes a snowflake. So you see this one here that's kind of airy looking. This one is the one that I'm starting to think I need to have because just the little houses are adorable. And it's not Christmas. It's called Humble Home. It has a thank you for coming, like a thank you card for someone coming to a party that you had or whatever. Welcoming someone to the neighborhood, I think, and it's a punch. I love punches. So this one might be on the horizon for me to get. I got this one, which I demonstrated last week, and so much more. I made napkin holders, but you think I could find my napkins that I wanted to put in them, so I haven't posted pictures yet, but I will. The wreath idea, I like that a lot. I just love this star. It's so versatile, and even though the stamp set has to do with Christmas, the star doesn't. And I'm thinking if Stampin' Up! Is as smart as I think they are, and they've done something like this in the past, that they will come up with, in next year's annual catalog, with a stamp set with stars that aren't holiday related. Let's see if I'm right about that, okay? All right, Artful Amaryllis, very pretty. It really is. You can kind of make some 3D flowers. It is pretty, but I didn't get it. More Than Autumn. I love all this stuff, you know, pumpkin, donuts, hot cocoa. It's really cute. You could make a really cute home decor item like the one that I did with the Lotta Latte Love, whatever it was called, bundle, but I didn't get it. Frozen Edges has 2 dies that are edge dies, just like the name implies. So you've got dripping icicles, and then you've got snow, and it's an edge die. Very pretty, very pretty. I'm not needing it yet, but you never know. All right, and then they just show you different ways to make Christmas cards, also different ways to make cards using a couple of sets together. This one is just adorable, really good for kids' cards. Again, I didn't get it. But, you know, my whole way of shopping is going to change if I ever have grandchildren. And my customers that come to my classes have grandchildren, but in all honesty, they're not necessarily interested in making this type of thing for their grandchildren. So I don't buy these things because they won't get used. All right, this set is really cute too, and it just has the 4 stamps. It's called Festive Words. Fa la la, my gift to you, Noel, and peace, love, and joy. And some of them, they're showing them here how they can be used on labels in a canning jar even. This one I had to have, and I have to tell you, I bought it because my friend James in Florida, who loves to wear Hawaiian shirts or things like Hawaiian shirts. And, you know, this is a perfect card to send to someone who lives in Florida. So this will be my Christmas card going to Florida friends this year. I did like this one too, but none of my friends surf, let me tell you. We're just not a surfing kind of crowd, not unless we want to break bones. And I thought this one was so cute as well. So I passed on this one, but this one I had to have. And then there's always a couple of the more religious sets because some people really want to send that kind of card, at least to certain people. And so you have the ability to do that. We had a beautiful one last year. And then this is the one that we just worked with, Caring Leaves. Warms My Heart. Again, it's very cute. It requires a lot of coloring. My customers aren't all into coloring, so I just kind of bypassed that one. This one is really cute. At first I thought they were cats and I was going to buy it. Then I realized they were foxes, and so I didn't buy it. See, if they were cats, I'd be all about it. But it's cute, and maybe not just for kids' cards. This one I like a lot because it's got the dies that cut out the specific sentiments and the shapes. And again, this is not Christmas. This is really totally anytime. This is just a birthday set. Totally anytime. This one is not Christmas. So this is not, you know, we used to call it the holiday catalog, and maybe that gave people the wrong idea because not everybody celebrates the holidays, right? Or not everybody celebrates them in the same way. So we need to have things in the catalog for people who don't do Christmas. All right, so this one's also very pretty and definitely year-round. There's not a word about Christmas in here at all. All right, so that's it. I kind of did show you most of it, didn't I? So if you didn't get this catalog and you think you were supposed to, please let me know. And if you did get it, let me know too, just so I know that you've got it. I didn't order a bunch of extras of these, but if you want one, let me know, and I can probably get my hands on some. I find in the past that I've ordered extra sets of catalogs after sending them to my regular customers, and then I don't necessarily have occasion to give 8 of them away. So sometimes my team and I share catalogs. You know, like I'll buy 8 of them, but they'll buy a couple from me. So maybe we'll do that. I don't know if they got any. So, sorry, took a little extra time there. Thank you very much for joining me, possibly both times if you were here earlier for the disaster. And I will see you 1 week from tonight. All right, so have a great evening and a great weekend, and enjoy this lovely weather we're having.